Winter. Hi, Chrissi. Thank you so much for doing this therapist spotlight with me.
Hello, good morning to you.
Good morning. You are in. We have to mention your gorgeous room. I feel like I really need to up level my background. You're all coordinated, fairy lights. This is new, isn't it?
It is. It's a garden room that I made purposely. Well, I say purposely for delivering therapy. We do use it for other things as well, but predominantly this is the area where I deliver the remote therapy, and we love it. And it's so just chilled out, and I've got open fields outside, so it just feels really nice. A nice place.
Absolutely gorgeous. It's really nice. Yeah. And do you like working out of the house now, even though it's just at the bottom of the garden?
Yeah, absolutely. It's made such a difference to separate the because really I was just working in a bedroom, a spare bedroom.
Yeah.
So the plan was to actually go somewhere where I could sort of separate the home life to my work life, and it just works. I don't know what it's going to be like in winter, although we have got underfloor heating in here.
Oh, no.
And we've got, so we'll see. I don't know when it's snowing, and it might be really cold, but we'll see. But for now, with the weather being great, it's perfect. It's ideal. I love it.
Oh, I'm sure it'd be beautiful because you're looking out onto fields, aren't you? So
all open fields, yeah, yeah. So it's just nice being sort of like just in the present moment, as we often say to our clients, just being there and just seeing the wildlife and the birds, and yeah, so it is nice.
Quite a different experience than working in some of the other places, I guess.
Different to an NHS building.
It's just a little bit different. Do you think it impacts your the therapy you deliver?
Absolutely, I do, because I just feel so more relaxed, and it's private because I've got some gates on the front of the house, so nobody can walk around, so I'm not interrupted. My husband's at work, so he doesn't work from home. So it's just me and Stan, my dog, who I've kicked out, as we were just saying before we met. But yeah, so I feel really more chilled out and calmer, no interruptions. Yeah, it just works.
Lovely. And starting from the beginning, what made you start to consider private practice?
Gosh, well, when I trained I qualified as a CBT therapist in 2020. And I always had it in the back of my mind that I would like to do private practice. And while I was working for the NHS as a psychological therapist, I started just sort of doing a few sort of self-referrals.
Yeah.
I'd advertised, and they were coming through, and that was, it was manageable. I wasn't doing a lot. And then I changed jobs within the NHS, and unfortunately it just didn't work out for me, really. Yeah, it just was different to what I'd anticipated. So that kind of made me think about, should I maybe go fully private? And I think that's what gave me the push, really. I mean, of course, I could look for another job, but I just thought, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it. So that was kind of the sort of.
How long's it been now?
So I qualified in 2020. I started taking a few referrals, maybe back end of 2020. And then, so I've been fully private now for 18 months. So it's still in its infancy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was it was kind of the job situation, and working for the NHS. The job wasn't what I wanted. I felt really comfortable with it. So yeah, I kind of like,
that helped you make
that transition.
Do you remember what your initial fears were? What you were most scared of?
Gosh, yeah, it was, am I going to get enough referrals? I'm not a businesswoman. I've never run my own business. What if it doesn't work out? Just invoicing. Am I going to keep up with everything? It was just, it was really quite a massive, massive big step. But yeah, it was,
What helped you manage those fears then? How did you get past all that?
Well, as you know, I have good supervision.
Yes.
So
Oh, that's nice.
we talked about this
We
really
did.
early on, didn't we? And we talked about my anxieties, because I think when I first started working with you, Sarah, as my supervisor, I was still working in the NHS. And
Mm.
of course, sort of like, we talked about the anxieties about leaving, etc. So that really helped me, knowing that somebody else had done it and had that experience. And then I kind of like started linking up with other private therapists, just a bit of networking, see what it was like, spoke to other people. So that kind of is what kind of made me really sort of take the step. It felt a
Yeah.
little bit more comfortable knowing that I had somebody to talk to about some of the perhaps the challenges that I might come across. So
You can
that
see
really
people
helped.
that have done it and it's not as scary and been through it, makes all the difference, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
How did
yeah.
you build up your client base? How's that?
Excuse me. So really, because I live in Howden. Well, I live in Eastington, which is in Howden in East Yorkshire, and
Lovely.
I initially started by just putting sort of the word of mouth really through Facebook. Some of my friends that knew that I'd qualified, and so it was initially it was word of mouth through my website, and then I started marketing through like Psychology Today, Counselling Directory, and counsellingtherapy.org. So it was just kind of building it up that way really. And then that kind of kicked off. It was,
What's
sort of
been
it
the
just.
most effective in getting referrals through, do you think, out of all those things for you?
I think for me, because I do some work with the health insurance company, so predominantly that's where most excuse me, that's where most of my referrals come from um, right now. So linking up with those insurance companies, it has been a big sort of a big thing for me, and it's helped me sort of like sort of have
Oh, good.
more referrals coming through. Um, Ideally, I mean, I know we'll talk about this, but ideally, I think in the future, I would like to sort of like have more referrals coming through my own website.
Which you've just given a revamp and it's looking
Yeah,
lovely, so that'll
yeah,
eventually take off, I'm absolutely sure. And what have been the
yeah.
biggest challenges to date, would you say?
Gosh, the most challenges really is sort of from initially making that big decision.
Mm,
That's
yeah,
been the most biggest challenge, actually doing it
that's
and
what I
making that
found as well, making the decision. It's the
making
hardest
the
bit, yeah.
decision. It's sort of like, because it's when you're in the NHS, you become in some ways you become institutionalized, and it's
So
safe.
safe.
You've got a regular
Holiday pay.
income, you've got holiday pay, you've got that sort of stability, you've got that regular wage coming in, so that has been the biggest challenge. And then for me, I think it was like just running a business, I'm my background's a mental health nurse and obviously a CBT therapist. I've never had anything to do with the business, so just running a business itself,
How are you finding it at the moment? How are you finding it? Because
easier as it's kind of, the journey's getting easier. There's been a few sort of, we've had to navigate around a few bumps in the road and things like that, and it has been challenging. Just think working out, what do I need to do? Insurance, see, ICO,
yeah,
confidentiality, contracts, invoicing, just all of it really. It has been challenging, and I think once you get into a routine and a rhythm, you start,
getting all
you
that
just pick
stuff
things
together.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
getting all that
yeah,
stuff together, isn't it? And there's always people to ask. And
yeah. And also worried about, I think worried about being on my own. That was a major challenge, working on my own compared to having a team around me.
so you've recently joined Therapist Corner on Substack. Is that why, to have a bit of a team?
Yeah, I think just linking up with other people and listening to their worries, and just having that connection, so you're not on your own. I think
Yeah.
that's really important. But actually, I have two different supervisors, yourself and somebody else, and I think that really works well for me as well, because I can, I use supervise for a different thing.
minds,
And it really does help. But like you say, just networking with other therapists is definitely something that I would advocate.
Yeah. And what's the most rewarding thing about it, apart from you're in your gorgeous room with fairy lights, which is every therapist's goal?
I think the most rewarding really is, I think, just having that, being able to sort of time manage yourself, so you're not really accountable to anybody as such. Having more free time to, I like walking, so I go for a walk every morning. It just kind of keeps me fresh and keeps me sort of focused and just sets me up for the day. Luckily now I only work 4 days a week, so that's been a massive big change, and I still get, obviously, a reasonable income that kind of that's the reward as well. And the clientele,
I was just going to say, how you finding the financial side of things, because it's early.
You get a lot more financial reward than you would working with the NHS. And what more can you say than that? It just gives you that sort of freedom to do a little bit more things. I can pay for my own training that I want to go on, and like I say, only having to work 4 days a week is a real bonus.
How many clients do you see?
So I work 4 days a week. So on average, I see anywhere between 16 and say 23.
Right.
I don't do any more than 6 during the day, because it doesn't. I like to. Otherwise, I kind of.
6 is. Yeah.
I don't do any more than 6.
Right.
A day.
And how are you managing the work-life balance? Obviously, have you been able to drop a day because you're in private practice now? That's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do that had I been sort of like working for the NHS. So that's really allowed me to kind of reevaluate, both me and my husband's life. So he only works 4 days a week now because of my income being increased, and so we've both got that work-life balance.
You're finding, so are you managing kind of stress and burnout? Are you kind of feeling that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't work any later than 7 o'clock in the night. That works well for me. I only work 4 days a week. I don't work weekends. And I go for a walk every morning, and I make sure that I have regular breaks throughout the day when I'm seeing clients. So yeah.
Because your commute to work now is just, how long does it take you?
Probably about 20 seconds, if that.
So somebody was watching this and thinking, I really want to make the move into private practice. And they're new and they're just thinking about it. What advice would you give them?
I think, go for it. I think that, networking, I think having just that sort of people around you who are doing it, you can get advice. And I also, at the back of my mind, I always thought that, if it doesn't work out, I'm a qualified therapist. Yeah. So I will find a job if it doesn't work out. And just having that kind of
like a plan B, isn't it? I had to get that in my head. Like the moment I realized, well, I could just go and get a real job again, it helped me make the leap into private practice.
Absolutely. It just feels a little bit safer, doesn't it, knowing that, but I've not come across anybody where it hasn't worked out, so
yeah. That's interesting, isn't it? I don't think I have actually that's gone back. I know people that like kind of the hybrid of a bit of working for a service and doing private practice, but I've not met anybody, I think, that's gone into private practice and then gone back. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. If you could start again, is there anything you would do differently? If you're going to start?
Do you know what? I don't think there is. I think the journey, like as I said, I think there has been some bumps, but I think the journey allows you to navigate around those, and it's all a learning experience, isn't it? So I don't think I would change anything really.
That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if people wanted to kind of find out a bit more about you and what you do, where can they find you?
So as I say, at the moment I'm based in, well, I'm in East Yorkshire, in Howden. And my website is www.cbtchrissiwalsh.co.uk.
We'll link to it as well so people can have a look, because you've just kind of given it a refresh and put it out there. So
Yeah,
all the traffic you can get to it is good for your SEO as well. So
yeah, that's important, isn't it? And they're things like you don't really think about,
yeah.
so yeah,
Has it been hard
things
to
like
get
that.
your head around that? SEO, websites? Yeah.
Yeah, it has, because it's all brand new, isn't it? You don't realise, Google's massive, isn't it? And sort of like, you obviously you want to be seen and to be accessible, but if you don't know that stuff,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really difficult.
And what's the next few years going to look like for you? What are you going to be doing?
Well, I'm really interested in CFT, and I've got I'm kind of, well, I've got a meeting with the program leader next week to talk about undertaking the diploma, which starts in September. So that's something that it really excites me. I love the CFT stuff. So that's something that perhaps I might kind of, think about doing. And also perhaps maybe finding somewhere, because I'm aware that people don't always want remote therapy. So I may be looking at offering somewhere where it's appropriate to see patients face to face as well. So yeah.
Fantastic. So it's been the right decision for you ultimately.
Oh, Sarah, without a doubt.
Oh,
Without a doubt.
fantastic. That is a lovely note to end on. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I think people are going to be find it very valuable. And it's nice to see inside a garden room as well, which even though I've got my little office in my house, I'm kind of thinking, actually, that little bit of separation, I'm liking it.
Do it.
Yeah, do it. Thank you so much. Let me pause.